So I hope that you have a great evening, and I want to go ahead and invite our Toastmaster tonight. Nick Townsend Falk has been a member of Sound Advice for a couple years now. I believe it's a couple. And Nick is one of these millennials that found that Toastmasters ignited a passion with him. And as he got excited, he brought that into the club, and he brings that out into our community. So I ask that you join me for a wonderful evening this evening, and let's hand it over to Nick. Welcome, Nick.
Well, thank you, Madam President. Thank you, everyone. Toastmasters is the only group that I'm affiliated with that does this to show that they're clapping. So whenever I see it, whether it's my home club bureaucrats or here at Sound Advice, that I'm elated or excited by it. As Debbie said, I am your Toastmaster for tonight. And I find that, well, the timing of it to be incredibly exhilarating for me and for all of you, members and guests. Because I imagine you're here tonight because whether it's your first time serving as an officer this upcoming next year, or in a different role or a different officer role, knowing the technology that each of your clubs may or may not use, Free Toast, Easy Speak, and Club Central, is absolutely crucial to, well, aiming or establishing or getting your Distinguished Club program points, among other things. Tonight, so we're all on the same page, I'm going to run through the agenda very quickly as one of our presenters has to go to another meeting she is leading. And so the agenda was sent to you, but for those of us who it's not in front of you, I'm going to run through it real quickly. And when I say your name, if you're not speaking, why don't you give me a wave, because I have an introduction for each of our speakers tonight. I'm going to skip our first two speakers as I'm going to give them an introduction, but our third and last speaker is Laurie Zabrowski, who will be speaking on Club Central. I'll lead the question and answer session. Our evaluator for our first speaker is Joanna. Our evaluator for our second speaker is James. Our timer tonight is Judy Young, and I almost forgot our speech evaluator for our third and last, but certainly not least speaker is Debbie Baker. Our Zoom master is, as always, Mr. Kyle Hall, and we'll be ending our meeting tonight a little bit early so the Sound Advice group can induct their new officer team. That is the agenda for tonight. Judy?
What are the times of the speeches?
That's a great question. I was just going to get to this point of timing. Oh. Tonight is unique in that normally a Sound Advice meeting, for those of us who are unfamiliar, it could be a leadership discussion where we have, in a physical space, separate groups, and they discuss some topic and bring it back together. Tonight, we will try that virtually. We'll have the Easy Speak group go with Marvin, and our Free Toast host group go with Lizette. And with that, our timing is sort of flowy, and I hope you'll understand that the reason I'm coming to that place is not because, well, it's because I know that each of their portions or speeches are going to be extremely valuable. And so I would hate to say to Lizette, or I'd hate to say Marvin, it must be 25 minutes to 27 minutes or something like that. I can tell you, because of other things coming up after this, that the first session, both of them, should aim to end around 7:25 at the latest. That'll give each of our session leaders the opportunity to run through their presentation and then allow for just a brief 2 to 3 minute question and answer, because at the end of the night after Laurie, we will have a open for everyone question and answer session. So I guess, Judy, to your timer question, I'll leave it up to you, but the end time would be 7:25, right? So I might suggest maybe a green at 7:15, maybe a yellow at 7:20, and maybe a red at 7:22 or something like that. Sorry that that's not more defined in the as it usually is in the Toastmaster space. Does that answer your question, Judy? Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. And then for Laurie, her time is up to nearly 8 o'clock from when the first session ends. We'll go right into the we'll go right into the Club Central part, and then we'll have the question and answer session. So I see those potentially kind of flowing into each other. So I guess a hard stop at 7:25 for Free Toast Toast and Easy Speak, and then we'll run into our Club Central and question and answer session. Yes, James?
If our timer is inside one of the breakout rooms, how is she going to communicate back the times to the Zoom master to let the other breakout room know when they're coming close to time? I mean, we can all keep an eye on the clock, of course, but I was just curious how that's going to work.
Right, that's a great question, something that I did not consider. And so, Judy, you're going to Free Toast Toast, is that correct?
I'm going to Easy Speaks myself.
Right, so I was just going to say, since Judy seems, I believe anyway, she is going to Free Toast Toast. James, since you just stated that you're going to be watching the time, if you'd be so kind.
I can.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you.
It appears that Judy disappeared. I don't see her anymore.
Yeah, I don't see her anymore either, and she was frozen there for a little bit. So maybe when she gets back on, I will direct message her via Zoom.
May I suggest we ask Stuart? Oh, no, Stuart's going into Easy Speak. Debbie, you're going into Free Toast Toast. Can you keep track of time in there?
Yes.
Okay. And Joanna's going to record it.
Okay.
Okay. Record the session, not the time. Sorry.
Fantastic. So to recap, we're going to have our first session. You're either going with Lisette for Free Toast Toast or Marvin for Easy Speak. Hard stop of 7:25. Come into the main room. We'll have Club Central and question and answer time, and then we'll do our evaluation portion after that, and then we'll conduct club business with the installation of new officers. Excuse me. Now I'd like to introduce our two speakers. I'll start with breakout room number 1, which is Miss Lisette West. She'll be speaking on Free Toast Toast. And Lisette West is presenting today on the software known as Free Toast Toast, or FTH, Kyle, for short. It's a tool many Toastmasters clubs utilize and simultaneously underutilize. Having created 2 of these club websites using Free Toast Toast from scratch, she's learned a lot about the opportunities the tool provides for officers. She's here to share her knowledge of the resource so that your club can benefit. It's time to use the tool to its potential and in turn eliminate rework and ensure club data stays in the club when officers transition. Lisette West. Now, for breakout room number 2, we have Marvin Wiley speaking on Easy Speak. His speech or presentation is called Putting the Easy into Easy Speak. Easy Speak can be a useful tool in keeping track of all your Toastmasters Club information. Marvin Wiley Jr. is from Success Speaks Toastmasters Club. He has been using Easy Speak since 2014. Tonight, Marvin will be speaking about how Easy Speak can be used, highlighting the most common uses of locating resources, confirming attendance and roles, entering speech information, and tracking speech progress. With that, your 2 speakers. Kyle, our Zoom master, if you would be so kind to get our people off to their room.
Wonderful, and I am going to start sharing my screen. Did everybody get a copy of the handout? It should have been distributed with your invitation.
I didn't get any of that.
I don't know how to get it to you, but there is a handout, and if nothing else, at least know everything I'm covering is in that handout. And I don't know if somebody else, Joanna or somebody else who has it, has a way of like emailing it to whoever might need it. That would be great.
I will ask Kyle to forward the handout in the link for the chat.
Thank you so much. The handout, I'm going to be following along. If you want to go ahead and open that up and reference it, great. If you already have it printed, fantastic. You don't have to have it, but I will reference it as I go. It has screenshots, so you've got something. You don't have to feel like you have to frantically take notes as we go. So I am showing you, hopefully you see my screen. I am on my club's Free Toast Toast website, CHI Franciscan. And right now we're on the home screen, and I am already logged in as myself as a member, as well as I have logged in as a site administrator, which means I have extra access to the officer tools. When you are an officer in Free Toast Toast, you can actually tell the website that my role is VPM or my role is VPE, and it will give you certain permissions. But when you go in as the site admin, you can do everything. So your club probably has a site admin login access, and that's what I've chosen to do here. And following along with the handout, I'm going to start on page 3. Pages 1 and 2 are really good for general members. It walks you through how to sign up on the agenda and some of the links on the left. And if I have time, I'll cover those. But since today's meeting is all about the officer responsibilities, I want to focus on that. That's going to be on page 3, starting. So page 3, you can see at the start, it talks about the secretary's role. Within the tool, the nice thing about our website, Free Toast Toast, is the agendas capture a lot of information. So if you're taking notes as a secretary, you can do it on the agenda, and I'm going to click on the meeting agendas link in the left column. That will take me to agendas. Do I have a yes?
Lisette's handout is now in the chat.
Thank you. And at the bottom of every meeting agenda is a place for notes. So secretary, you can save these notes right here and essentially make those your meeting minutes. So if you are voting in a new member, you can easily notate that right here, which is fantastic. Other responsibilities that aren't built into the meeting agenda might be your officer minutes. When you guys meet as an officers only meeting, maybe that's once a month, maybe that's twice a year, I don't know when, but you probably need to capture those meeting minutes, and you don't want to have them just saved as a Word doc on your file, because if you leave this role a year from now, how do you ensure that those files get transferred to the next person? You ensure it by loading it to this website. And so it's always here. And that is done on the left. You have these links under members only section. And again, I'm seeing every link possible because I'm logged in as the site admin. But as a secretary, I should specifically have access to the file manager link. And that file manager is where you can go to upload documents. The website, well, as you can see, I have a lot of files in here, and it's a lot to scroll through as the secretary. If your club is older and you have a lot of information to retain, the nice thing is it can be a little cumbersome to find. I want to start by showing you how to upload a document. Sounds really straightforward, and it is. I'm going to select a file to upload. And you just pull it from your My Docs, whatever document you want. Looking for just a simple Word doc. When you upload it, really simple, right? It shows up right here at the top, dynamic presentations. Notice it's a Word doc versus a PDF. You could also add JPEGs and various other forms. You can make the access restricted. You could make it available to anybody, any guest who just goes in and checks out the website would have access to this document, or only to members, or only to officers, or just hidden and saved. When you make that access however you want, I'll say members only, that's wonderful. What I would recommend, though, is that you put this into a folder, because as you can see, I've got a lot of files to scroll through, and your members they're just not going to scroll through. They'll get overwhelmed by that. So notice that these files that I have already preloaded start with club meeting minutes with a colon at the end. That's how you folder something. You copy whatever folder name it is that you want, and put it right at the start of that uploaded file. And as long as it has that exact same name in the colon, this is going to go into that folder, club meeting minutes versus officer meeting minutes, and so on. I've got lots of folders, and I'm going to delete it because that's not really a file to go in there. What questions do you have about uploading files?
Is it possible to indicate a date, like metadata of the file, to search it later?
Like to keyword search for something? No.
Correct, yes.
Not that I know. I don't believe there's any kind of keyword search functionality. And I'm going to show you what this looks like when it's actually uploaded. That's going to be in the member downloads. So we added it through the file manager as secretary. All your members have this link, member downloads. And clicking on that, here's where you can actually see the folders that I was just referencing. Here's the club meeting minutes that that document would have gone into. But you can see there's no search format up above. You just scroll. And the odd thing is, to open this folder, I'm clicking on the name here, and you would think that that would open it. It doesn't. The file folder button over here, it's a button. That's how you get into that folder. You click on the file folder document. So we've got folders in here for new members, for all kinds of mentoring resource documents, just general information, and so on. Other questions? That was a great one.
Lizette, I lost connection, just got back in. Do you want me to give you certain timing cues?
Thank you. I'll take a green at 7:20 and yellow at 22.
27:22. Okay. I'll have the virtual backgrounds up.
Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to leave it at that with the secretary. Just understanding. Yes, go ahead.
I have a quick question. When you titled the document, say, club meeting minutes, is that titling of the document when you input it, what puts it in the folder?
Yes. So just a second. I have a toddler in the background. So okay, so going back to the file manager, when you upload the file, it's just going to take the name that you saved that document as, whatever name you gave it. In this case, I named that file Dynamic Presentation Feedback. When I hit open, that's the name that's going to go into this folder, if you will, and then to actually put it into a particular folder is where you have to either copy, paste, or type out that exact folder name. Did that answer your question, Amy?
Yes, and then the folders themselves, like club meetings minutes, how do you create a new folder?
You just create it. Name it anything you want. Fun folder, colon.
Oh.
I've got a new folder.
Okay.
That's easy. Yeah. Great question. Others? I'm not going to save that. All right. Let's talk about treasurer then. For the treasurer, again, because I'm the site admin, I have a link down here for treasurer function, but this time I think I'm going to show you a different way to find these links on the left. When you're the site admin, you can launch the admin console. And this is another way of accessing a lot of the things that are on that left column. Dues management. This is the section to pay attention to. Select a module, do the drop down, dues management. That link, treasurer function, would take me here. So 2 different ways to do the same thing. You can see here it has some tabs across the top. Invoice settings, invoice preview. So literally this preview is exactly what was written on invoice settings. I filled in the information about what the club name is, who it should be written out to as far as checks go, how much to pay, and then just a little email explaining the club dues. And this actually becomes, if you want it to, or if your members want it to, this becomes essentially an invoice for them when they pay their bill. It says the amount that's due. So they can take this and potentially, if able, get reimbursed from their company employer if that's something that happens. Not everybody has that, but for corporate clubs, it might come in handy. This Send Notices Track Payments tab is also really useful for the treasurer. Rather than using an Excel file and then constantly having to upload the latest version of the Excel file of who is paid and who hasn't, it's all kept on here. And it's current to the actual members that you have listed in your membership directory. So you can see it's listing out how they paid. And then we use Square or PayPal, if you will, same kind of app. So I track that as other, and it tells me who's paid and who hasn't. If I wanted to, I could send an email to Elena. Maybe she hasn't paid yet, and just click her name and hit update, send notice. It's going to send this invoice setting email to her specifically. Or I could send it to everybody when dues are due again, update and send notices. And if, as I'm going along, I've gotten maybe 5 checks in from my club members, the rest haven't paid, I could update changes only and send notices just to those who still are outstanding. And then there's a dues follow-up tool as well. I haven't really explored this, but here you go. What questions do you have about the dues management? Okay, I'm going to close that. On page 4 of the handout, we talk about membership. And there is a lot going on in this membership tool that is really handy. Again, you can access it either through membership management on the left or through launching the admin console. If you do that, you've got to do your drop-down membership management. Same thing. Every time you get a new member, come on in and type their name. Put in their email address. Put in a phone number, ideally. And when you hit save, you get this. So if any of you have ever been a BPM in the past year, you probably know about this. This is a new alert that has been established for this website because of a lawsuit around giving out people's information. Essentially, what's going to happen is any new person you add into the tool, they're going to get a very ugly email that says this email or this website is trying to add your information to it. Do you accept? You have to warn your new members that that email is coming, and they have to accept, because you can't do anything with them in the tool. They can't get into the tool until they accept, until they hit that link in their email. And a lot of people pass it. They'll delete it. They think it's spam. It's not attractive at all. And you have no ability to edit it. The nice thing is you get a copy of it. You don't have the ability to click the link for them, unfortunately. But you get a copy of it so you can see that it went out, and you could forward it off to them again and say, hey, remember this? And that might spark their memory. But you gotta warn them. And this ugly email happens not just for new members. It happens when you put in prospects, when guests show up and you want to track the guest information. If you go and put that guest information in, it's going to send out that ugly email, and you will not get that guest recorded in your website for longer than 30 days. It gives you a 30-day grace. And I probably should have read that email because I'm not even seeing John Smith listed here. But it would show John Smith with a line through it. And that line will disappear once he accepts. What questions do you have so far?
Does it give you 30 days for members as well as prospects?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a standard 30 days for anybody who gets added.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Lisette, I have a question in reference to the frequency that you can send this out. So if somebody's coming close to 29 days and they decide, I can't find it, it's not in my main email, it's not in my spam, and you send it again, how often can you send it?
I haven't heard of a limit. I don't know that there is a limit. So I would just click on the person's name so that there's a checkbox there, and then go up to this membership tools dropdown, and there's an option to resend opt-in email. And I don't know of any limitation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? So that's a huge hurdle for VPM, because you can't send the invite to the club website until they do that, and you want to. Once they accept, then you're going to go check the box, go up to, well, you could do it, again, 2 different ways. I like to go here, New Member Welcome tab. And my latest new member was Non, but I would want to change that and enter in whoever it is, his name, into here. This email itself is completely customizable, and they do have an auto-generated one. I recommend going in and editing it according to what you need. I put information about, I thought, clearer steps and how to access Toastmasters International and what's the difference between the 2 websites. And then when you hit save, that just auto-sends to the person that you select from the drop-down list, whoever it is that you choose. You could have also sent it from the membership management page, sorry, from the members tab, apologies. So I could have just done it from here, but then I don't have the right to edit the name at the top, and I want to change it from Non to Lisette or whoever it is that's new. So I do like to go to that New Member Welcome tab. That tells them how to log into the website. That gives them the link to actually access the website. Any questions so far?
Lisette, I have a question in reference to, it's really great that you can edit this one. Is there any way, I'm going to go back just a step, is there any way to edit the email, the opt-in email? Okay.
I wish. It's so awful. It's really scary. It looks like spam. No, not, right. There's no way to edit it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. From this members tab, I track all of my prospects, guests, former members. This is a handy tool because we don't lose these people. The problem is that scary email, people aren't opting in, and so you lose them. So now I've gotten to the point where I'm tracking people in an Excel file, and I'm tracking them on Free Toast Host, which is kind of annoying. It is what it is, unfortunately, with that new rule. But it's nice to keep a copy of all the guests so you can let them know about special events, invite them back. And what's cool in here is you actually have the ability to track what you're doing to reconnect with these prospects, these guests that have shown up. So I was tracking every day that I followed up how the method, phone, met in person, so on, what I invited them to. That was very convenient. I could run a report of how frequently I'd connected with these people. It's just not as efficient anymore now that that darn opt-in option exists. Beyond tracking your prospects and your guests and your former members, you've seen this drop down I used. This is handy. So if Elena moves on, she gets a new job, she leaves the club for whatever reason, I can come here and move her to former members. I can come down and assign a member mentor. So your VPE should be coming in here, or no, yes, VPE should be coming in here as well. It's not just VPM who uses this page. VPE uses it to assign the mentor. So they're going to come in, and it's very easy, just a little bit confusing to read. So assign mentor to the following member. So Elena is going to get the above member's mentor, which is Nicole. She's already has Nicole selected, but you would pick from the drop-down list. You hit the send assignment notification, and that's going to send them both an email saying, you guys are paired. You are now mentor-mentee partners. And you can access that report here or in here. The membership reports, I'm going to select all. Membership reports. And there's not many to choose from. It's just about mentors. So members and their mentors, I'll hit print report, and that's going to load up a report and show me who's paired with who. It wants to print every report. So I have to cancel that out, but I can see my folks and who they're being mentored by, and notice gaps. Chris, I'm his mentor. Shoot. And there you go. That's why we run these reports. He knows that, but it's clearly not in the tool. So let's take care of that. Chris, we're going to assign a member mentor. And that should be me. Oh, and I should have hit send. There you go. Questions? What questions do you have? All right. I'm going to close out of the membership management, and I'm going to look at VP of Education. This one's a big one. I've already touched assigning the mentor. This is on page 5, by the way. So you can see there's a screenshot on page 5 of assigning mentors. Not going to worry about that. But there's a lot of agenda management that the VPE can do from this tool. And it starts by creating an agenda template, and then most of the agenda management is done in your weekly meeting agendas. But to actually create it, you have to go to meeting agenda settings, I believe. Yeah. So this is where you can go to actually create a template. And this is intricate. There's some interesting things going on in here. I have a standard meeting template. I have a spring contest agenda template, a fall contest agenda template, and an agenda template for our lunch and learns that we offered for promotional events. So that I didn't have to keep customizing every time I had a special event. I could just pull these templates that already exist. Very convenient. You pick the template that you want, and you can come in here and customize it and change it, or start from scratch. How many of you expect that you will need to actually create a template? Okay.
That's okay. If you just want to cover the basics, I'm very versed in agenda management.
Okay.
So I'm sure that's a whole 20 minutes on its own.
It is. The creating of a template is its own little unique world. Agenda management is a lot easier.
Right. We can cover agenda management. That's quite all right. You just asked the question. I had to be honest.
I'm glad. No, I'm glad. If I have time at the end, I'll come back to it, okay?
All right. Excellent.
Okay. A couple other things to just be aware of in here before I move out of this, this page is meeting info and directions. This is where I went to update, you know, our stay-at-home information and how to reach out for virtual meeting information, where to go, directions, and so on. Homepage as VPPR. There's a whole other thing to do within the homepage, and I do have one VPPR on here. Do you know VPPR? Are you uploading photos to your homepage?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Is the VPPR, I'm going to close this, take you back to my homepage. Is the VPPR keeping the homepage fresh? Updating it, changing it?
No, but that's a good idea. If they don't have someone else doing it at the club, I'm not sure who does that right now.
Lizette, I'm VPPR of another club, and I didn't know how we would get photos now that we're online, but if I could get fresh photos, I would update it with photos.
Well, I'm doing screenshots, as you can see. I use my Snippet tool that exists in any Word doc. If you have Word, if you have Microsoft Word, you have the snipping tool. You just go into your search bar and search for snipping. And it's just a screenshot. It's super easy and convenient. You hit new, drag what you want, your screen, boom, there's my image. There's my photo I can upload. So in every meeting I say, okay, smile. And then I go in and I upload those images because I want people to see that we are meeting regularly and we are doing things. So you can see I keep photos for about 3 to 4 months and then I take them down. These are a little bit older. But try to keep them fun and creative and give people a feel for the environment they're walking into, since it can be really scary to walk into something that's totally new and you don't know anybody. And there's a little blurb about that. So to update this homepage, which in my mind is the VPPR's job, it could be the secretary's job. It really depends on you guys and your club and your responsibilities, how you decide to divide that up. But there's this little edit button pencil icon up in the top right hand corner. Just click on that. And by the way, the only way I know how to do this is to go to that pencil icon logged in as the site admin. I don't think there's actually an edit button for VPPR on the left here. But it automatically defaults you to the home page. And it's a small little window that you're working in. And you can come down here. And I'm going to upload our most recent photo. So I'll go to this icon of a, I don't know what you want to call that, TV screen, computer screen. If you hover over it, it says image. There's a little green snowflake icon on the bottom right. By the way, this is also on page, I've skipped a page, but it's on page 6, VP Public Relations. So you click on that little icon of the computer image, and it automatically takes you to browse the server. I have to first upload the photo to the server. So it's not in the server yet. So I have to go to Upload, choose File, and it's going to search my computer. I'm going to go to my Photos, wherever that is, Pictures, and I have a Toastmasters file, and I date these, which is sometimes easy and sometimes hard to find. So what was our most recent meeting? 6/11, I think. Yeah, that looks right. I'm gonna hit open and send it to the server. It says success, wonderful. I'll go back to that initial tab. Now I can browse my server and find that image. And it always puts the latest image at the bottom of the list. And I got a lot of images in here, so it's going to take a little bit of time for them all to load. I probably should clean them out, but you can see it's the very last one, most recent. You can play with the settings here if you want in terms of size. I'm just going to hit OK. And that's the new latest photo. And I should date this. And I just copied, sorry. Scroll, scroll, scroll. It's a small little window. I just copy paste because I'm terribly uncreative. And change the date. June, what was it? 11th. June 11th, 2020. Our 4th virtual meeting. When I hit save and close, that should now populate right there. June 11th, our 4th virtual meeting. What questions do you have about uploading and editing your homepage?
I have a question about, are you able to take the photo off of your computer, or are you using like a phone to photo your Zoom meeting?
So I'm doing it right through the snipping tool on my computer.
To take the photo of the group too?
Uh-huh. So while
Okay.
I'm in Zoom, like this little thing that we have going on, like I would just do a snippet right now. Boom, there's my photo.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, there's my photo. Not attractive, we'll close that. But that it's as easy as that. It's really not hard to capture a photo. When you're doing it live, then I'm using my phone and I'm emailing a copy of that photo to my email so I can upload it to my computer and then upload it into the server. That's actually more cumbersome than this is.
I also have to apologize. You are now on your yellow card.
Oh, thank you.
Not
Okay.
according,
There's so much to cover on this tool.
I'm sorry. It was not according to my clock. According to my clock, it's 7:19.
Okay.
And are there 2 timers?
Yes.
Wait, I was backing you up, but I didn't see a color, Judy, so I just wanted to make
Oh,
sure she
I
knew.
was going to put a color in the next minute.
Okay.
I
Okay.
told her to, do it a little later, so.
Okay.
Thank you, but thank you for the heads up. That's helpful. 5 minutes. There we go. Oh, okay. So that's VPPR. And obviously, if you go up to that pencil, there's more that you can do in this teeny tiny little box. You can change your font and sizing and colors and lots more. For me, I generally leave the text alone and just focus on the photos and try to keep that fresh. All right, let's talk about VPE. The VPE one is big, and I typically tackle it from the individual agenda versus creating a full template. Because once you have a template, there's not a lot of need to create another one typically. So we have our agendas already posted here. We've got our members already slated to sign up for roles. If I wanted to, I'm going to move to the next meeting so I don't screw up this one. And let's say we're having a special guest speaker. As the Toastmaster or as the VPE, I can come in here and make edits to the agenda. I just have to have this pencil icon up here. The pencil icon allows you to edit this one agenda as opposed to a template. I'm doing it just for this one meeting. You can come in here and say, speaker number 3 isn't happening. Just hit the delete and it goes away. Speaker number 2 is going to be our guest speaker. I have a membership role as a guest so that I could always just plug that in if I needed to. I might change the time using the pencil icon. It's always the pencil icon, and increase that to 15 minutes for a specialty speech. This is a role for which members can sign up. This is a speech. This role should appear in the printed agenda. I might uncheck this if I don't want, I've already assigned it, frankly, so it's a moot point. But if you were doing like a contest and you have a target speaker and you're just going to assign somebody's already volunteered, then I might take this off so that people can't sign up for that target speech role. You could come in here and make an edit to what's actually going to appear on the agenda. So changing the explanation of what this person's job is. You could list that. And then when you hit save, that's going to reflect accordingly here. It'll change the time to 15 minutes. All of these times will adjust on the left. Notice it didn't remove my evaluator 3. I have to manually change that. They're not linked, speaker 3 and evaluator 3. And additionally, you can drag these items around, move them around using the arrows. So evaluator 3 comes after grammarian, which doesn't necessarily make any sense, but you could. So that's how you can, as you're creating an agenda or customizing the agenda, that's how you can move placements. What questions do you have about signing people up on the agenda or making changes?
So, Lisette, could you cover, going back into the edit, if you could cover when you save the agenda changes and set a new agenda? So save as a new agenda, how those two vary. Could you highlight that?
So creating a whole new agenda versus customizing and saving.
But just being careful when you use those two tools. So the
All right.
first one you want to save to everything that you're doing. And then when you save as a new agenda, it just creates a whole new agenda, and just being careful with that.
Do you know I never played with save as a new agenda? I just hit save. So there you go. Thank you. I probably should be careful with that because I get click heavy.
It was a tool I learned a few years ago. I was like, what? Stop making new agendas.
What will happen if you're, say, if you're doing an agenda for the 25th of June, and you're working on that, if you hit save new agenda, it's going to give you two agendas for the 25th of June.
Oh, well, that's good. Not.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. Meeting description, if you guys have ever played with this is handy for, as the Toastmaster, if you wanted to announce a theme for the meeting, it's going to show up right at the top. Have fun. That's going to be our, it's going to be our theme. When I close this, depending upon what this looks like, it should, yep, there it is, have fun. That will actually print in the agenda. If you guys are printing agendas, that's where it will show. Have you played with this report settings? Because I love this feature.
That was amazing.
Yes, for VPE, this is amazing. And you can come down and say roll tally. Somebody introduced me to this one. I already have it pulled up, actually. The roll tally is going to show, oh, for the love, it's in here. It's going to show you who has signed up for what role, how frequently. So you can tell if people are like, I don't like being Toastmaster, I hide from it, and they sign up for other roles instead. It'll show that they've never signed up for it, or they've only signed up for it once. And that, as a VPE, gives you power to go, oh, let's nudge. Let's push that member to stretch themselves into a new role. So the roles reports, highly encourage you to check out. That's through the little person icon, and actually everybody has access to this. But my time is up.
Your time is up.
It's so hard to cover this topic.
I know. So everybody should hit the leave room button.
I hope you all got what you needed. And Joanna, if you want to meet afterwards, like another day, to walk through creating an actual template, I'd love to practice. I haven't done it in ages, but I'd be happy to.
Excellent. And I might bring along my secretary. She's really interested in doing fun meetings. So
cool.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So they're going to kick us out in 57 seconds. So if you have any last words, ma'am, before I hit the end record.
Not for the recording. You can hit end recording, but
Here. Okay, and starting off, let's start with, has anybody ever used, I know there's one person that hasn't used Easy Speak yet, but has anybody else went through the process of putting their club on Easy Speak? Perfect, so that'll be a good place to start. So we can start right there. And so the very first thing that we will do is you would go to easyspeak.org. So you can see the URL right there, easy-speak.org is the website for Easy Speak. You don't have to worry about all this. This just automatically populates. This is just the portal. Just type in easy-speak.org. Over here on the right-hand side, it says register a new club on Easy Speak. There are some additional instructions. And the first thing that you would do is you'll be able to just simply create an account. And if you created a Facebook account, a YouTube account, Google account, or any account really, it's essentially the same process. You'll create a username, you'll create a password, it's connected to your email address, and then you just have to make sure you remember your password. If you were to forget it, you can always just click forgot my password, and you just put in your email address and you'll be able to reset your password. But that's a pretty simple process to create your account. And once you have your account, you can put in your club number in here and then click add a club. And then that will begin the process of getting your club onto Easy Speak. And then the people that are behind the scenes that help to operate Easy Speak, I think they're in London or they're in another country. That's where the people that run Easy Speak, that's where they're based out of. But they'll go ahead and they'll get everything sorted out for you to get your club on Easy Speak. So you just follow their instructions. And it's been so long since we put my club on there, so it's hard for me to remember what that process was like. But I'm pretty sure it's a very simple process to go ahead and get your club onto Easy Speak. And once it's on Easy Speak, then you'll be able to go to your home page. I'm just going to go to the home page.
I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah, no worries.
Do you guys have a record started?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, no worries. And this is the home page on Easy Speak right here. It might look a little bit different. I actually put several different buttons I can talk about a little bit later, but that's just a little bit further details. I just created some buttons just to make it easier. So they're basically shortcuts. So instead of going up in the menu, you can create buttons. We can talk a little bit about that later. But the home page is going to look a little bit different. So there's different ways you can customize it. And when it comes to being a club member, the most common thing that you'll be doing is entering in your speech information, such as your speech title, your speech introduction, and your speech projects. And you would also be able to track all of your speech progress. And we can walk over how to do that. It's very simple. So when you think about how to track your speech progress, you can think about my participation. And there's actually a tab here that's my participation. So that's where you'll go to look at all your speech progress. So you can click here, view my speech progress. You can sign up for meetings. You can view this is leadership progress. That's what the old program really. And then here's some other things. And then there's schedule speeches. And so you can click on view my speech progress. And this is always great because it gives you a good overview of all the speeches that you've given. I'm just gonna minimize this here. On the top, there's a workbook matrix. This basically takes like all the projects and everything, and it combines it all into like one little box. And then you have all the various different check boxes next to the speeches that you've given. And these are all project numbers alongside here. And then here are all the names, and there's also pathways too. And if you wanted to get more details, you can go down below under the workbook history. And this will have all the list of all of the projects. And you'll be able to click on any pencil looking icon next to your speech title. Or if there isn't a speech title, it'll say like TBA or something like that, but there'll be a pencil icon. And then that's how you can view any of this material. You can edit it if you needed to. Such as if your title wasn't in there before, you can edit the title. And this will be how you can track all of your speech progress. So all that is pretty straightforward. If you're the VPE, you'll be able to track everybody's speech progress throughout the entire club. And when you think about that, you would think, or once you think about how to access that information, you'll go to this club. And under the tab, this club, you can go down to club charts. And there's a lot of different charts that you can take a look at. There's the communication chart, leadership chart. You can look at roles by meeting, roles by member. So there's a lot of stuff that you can play around with and look at the various information. So when I go to the communication chart, it's going to have a list of all the members that are currently listed as a member in the club. And it's going to have all their, well, it's actually not going to have all their progress on this particular page. If you wanted to see all of it, you'll have to look further into it. I'm actually going to just zoom in here because it's really tough to see what this icon looks like. It's pretty tiny. But this icon right here, when you hover over it, it says view communication progress. And then that's how you would be able to pull up all of the progress. So if I were to click here, it will pull up this member's speech progress. And that's how I can verify if someone has given a speech. because you have the workbook matrix. So it's just like when you look at your own speech progress, you have the workbook matrix, and then you have the list down below, and you have all the details of all the titles. Here's one that doesn't have a title. So if I needed, if I was the VPE, I needed to put the title in, then I can do that for the member if I knew what the title was. And so that's how you can verify all of the speeches on EasySpeak, is through this chart. And I'll just kind of buzz through some of these other charts. We don't use the leadership chart too much anymore because that's kind of phasing out, but that's what that looks like. And then you'll just activate it, but that's not going to be a very common thing because it's about to go away. But I believe there's a pathways chart. Can't recall. Oh yeah, there it is, the pathways chart. And this is just strictly pathways to view all the pathways progress. A lot of new members are on pathways, so this might be useful just to go directly to the pathways chart. And all these little blue boxes, all that means is it hasn't been achieved yet. And then if it's achieved, then there's a green check mark next to it. So that's what all the blue is. And then if there's a little clock next to it, that just means that it's currently scheduled and hasn't been completed yet. And that's a little bit about tracking the speech progress. Now, when we look at setting up a meeting, so we can talk a little bit about that. So when you think about setting up a meeting, you would think of creating a meeting. And so you can go over to the meetings tab. You can go to create a meeting. And you'll have your name in here. It's oftentimes going to be a Toastmasters meeting. You can also do a committee meeting or another type of event, but typically it's going to be a Toastmasters meeting. You'll put the date. I'm just going to put a random date here just so I know to delete it. You'll have the venue. You can actually load other venues, which if we have time, we can talk a little bit about that, about the venue. That's pretty simple. It's just done under the control panel. And so you can go, but that's not too important. It's helpful because it has the location on the top of it, but as a member, I usually don't pay much attention to what the venue says on it because we typically meet at the same place all the time. But you can still ensure that the venue is accurate on there, and that's very simple to do. And it'll always stay with what you chose previously, unless you were so the previous venue that you've chosen, it's always going to stick there as you create new agendas. That'll be the default. You can add a meeting theme. You can add the agenda, which we're going to get a little bit more detail. These are some agendas that I've created, like the table topics extravaganza, like the speakathon. That's kind of what we talked a little bit about before, the speakathon, where someone gave a speech and then they had it evaluated and then they gave the same speech again. That was that speakathon thing. And we had like a farmer's market. So there's different agendas that you can create and save. And I also have some other updated ones here. So we'll talk a little bit about how you can create those agendas. So for right now, we can just leave it for later, and then you can choose who is the meeting manager. You can add text. Here, you can add media if you want to get add like a video or something, or an image. You can do that, but usually you can just add some text about the theme or describing anything else that you like to describe about the meeting. And then you can just click submit and it will create the meeting. And here's some options. It says you can click here to view the event. You can click here to add another event, and then there's something else. And here's another thing too. Once you have multiple events or multiple meetings open at the same time, it says you can, like no assignments will be possible if 3 meetings remain open. So right now in this club, there are 2 meetings that currently have been closed. So if another meeting goes on and it gets completed and it remains open, then you won't be able to start another meeting until you at least close one of them. And we can talk a little bit about closing the meeting. It's very simple. You verify all the information is accurate and you just hit the close button. So for now, I'm just going to hit no here. And here is the screen. Over on the left, you have the attendance. Over on the right, you can add the agenda. So I'm just going to use probably, see, I'll just use this one right here. And you can see it populated all of these roles. Now say I needed to add another speaker, or if I needed to add any other role, I would do that by clicking on this icon here. And this pulls up this agenda, which just can look a little bit daunting in a sense, but it's quite simple really, because you have these upward arrows and you have these downward arrows. It'll enable you to move anything up and down this list. This here enables you to insert any additional role above this icon. And here are these numbers. If for example, I were to change this number, it will reorder things as well. So if I were to just swap some of these numbers around, let's see, and if I just made this one 50, then that will just swap those particular rows around. So that's another way you can swap stuff around. If you didn't want to click all the arrows, you can just change it by the numbers right there. So if I say needed to add another speaker, I would first look for the first speaker. I'm just going to go back to this agenda here so it undoes what I just did. So the first speaker, see, here it is. Yeah, the first speaker is right here. And if I want to add another speaker, I can just click this button. And then I can go down the list for the role, select the speaker, and I'll just add speaker 2 for the name. And as a default, this can always be changed, but we'll just set it for 5 to 7 minutes. Oops. And here are some other options. You can print this item on the summary agenda, which I usually will. And you can print the start time for this agenda, and you should just put yes. And then you can print the spacer after line, and that's just a line break. A lot of times, if there's a break between the meeting, where the break is going to be, that's when, like the row above where the break is going to be, I'll put that line space. That way you'll see a line there on the agenda, and then you'll know that there is a break that's going to happen during that time. That's all that is. And then you just add the new agenda item. And so now you have the first speaker and then you have the second speaker. So now both of those speakers are in there. And then that's essentially how you would go through and creating the agenda. And so here I have the speaker 4. So this agenda has 4 speakers, and that's essentially all I did when I went through and created this agenda. It takes a little bit of time, but once you have it created, you don't have to do it again. It's just something that you just do one time, and then the agenda is already constructed. Just make sure you have all the roles for the speeches, and you can click on it, and you can see the various different names. and the repeat button, or the repeat, I probably didn't add that before, but sometimes it just automatically fixes it for you for the repeat. And so like this is evaluator number 2, and this is repeat number 2. And so evaluator row number 3 will be repeat number 3, and so on and so forth for the rows that repeat, which are the speech evaluators, as well as the speakers. Those are oftentimes the 2 most common roles that repeat. And that's the process essentially of creating an agenda. And are there any questions up to this point about anything?
Does this at all interface with Toastmasters International?
This is completely separate from Toastmasters 100%. So this is
Okay.
It's all ran by volunteers. And so there's an option where you can donate if you wanted to donate to them, but it's all ran by 100% volunteers. And
Okay.
and they're all
have you
Toastmasters.
have you used Free Toast Hosts, and how do you compare them, or have you not used Free Toast Hosts?
Yeah, I use Free Toast Host. I know a bit about using Free Toast Host as well.
What about the comparison? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, what I like about Easy Speak is there's more tracking features. Like it's a lot easier for me to be able to track the members' progress. And then once you pull up the agenda, you can see that you have options. Actually, I'll just go to another, or see if I can find one that, Yeah, so it's, or maybe I'll go to the one that is created. But there's different buttons that you can click to confirm your attendance. And there's also emails that you can send out. So say I was going to put myself down here as like the snack master. Then once I'm assigned for that role, I can click this check mark, or anybody that's assigned for the role, they can click this check mark, this check mark to confirm the role. They can click this thumbs down, this red thumbs down if they wanted to decline the role. So a thumbs up is what I meant to say. Yes, they can click the green thumbs up if they accept. They can click the red thumbs down if they decline the role. And I think that's a very cool feature. And then in a perfect world, all the members will accept and decline their roles. So if they did that in advance, then you will know that you have to find a replacement. And on the attendance, they can say, yes, they're going to be at the meeting, or no, they're not going to be at the meeting. And then you'll know who's going to be there to be able to fill open roles that other people might have backed out at the last minute. So when it comes to planning, there's a lot of resources within Easy Speak that you can use when it comes to planning on how you are going to run your meeting in that way. The trick is to get all of the members and to all get active on Easy Speak. That's kind of the secret to making it all work, because if that's not happening, then you don't really get those benefits, because you just have one person just trying to make the most of it. And I heard that James did a similar thing. So like one thing you can do is you can kind of create it as almost like a game where people can earn points for confirming the roles and confirming their attendance and stuff like that. That can be a way to encourage people. You can have different prizes that they can earn just to encourage people to participate.
Is that part built into the points from Easy Speak?
Some of it is, but some of it isn't. When you go to the Outstanding Toastmaster, which I believe is the VPE, or I can't remember who has access to it, but here is the Outstanding Toastmaster. And let me see if I can get to the details of it. Oh yeah, I think I just got to click on somebody. So here are different points. So this is like the meeting attendance. This isn't really confirming it. This is just if you were there or if you didn't make it to the meeting. And so there's and so it's mainly like stuff that you've earned or stuff that you did, like getting the best table topic, or different levels or projects that you've done, and then that can count towards that. But one thing I did is I just created I found an Excel sheet, and I created a point structure. So that if you won, or that if if you confirm your attendance, you get 5 points, or if you entered in your speech title, you get 1 point. Your speech introduction, you get another. You get another point, just to try to encourage people to get involved in using it, and then you'll get like an award at the end of the year. So doing stuff like that can help, because it's really quite simple when it comes to, especially from a member's perspective, to use EasySpeak, because what the VPE or the person that will be sending out the meeting agendas. So if I were to go here, and I'll see if it'll let me do it. Sometimes you have to have more details on it, but let's see if I can open. Yeah, I'll just add in myself as a speaker just to test this out. Let's see. Yeah, and once you have, let's see, let's put my name here. And see, I think this will let me do it now. Oops. See the email. There we are. So here's the email screen. I oftentimes will send the second email. This is thank you for confirming and not confirming the role. And this third one is thank you for confirming and not confirming, and I have assigned you a role. So once you send these emails, what it does is it'll say the role that they've been assigned to, and then there'll be a button for them to click. Like before, you saw the green thumbs up and the red thumbs down. Those same buttons will be embedded into the email, so they'd actually would just have to click that and then log in to EasySpeak if they haven't been logged in at that time. But if they're already logged in, or if they have their login information saved, then they basically just click that green button and then just click the login button, and then they're confirmed in that way. So then the Toastmaster and the VPE, everybody knows that person's confirmed for that role, and it can all be done from a simple email. And that's one large thing that I really like about EasySpeak. And also embedded in the email, you can have it where there's different resource links that you can embed, because I put, well, it kind of goes a little bit deeper into it, but I have a Google document that has some information on being a speech evaluator, and there's another one that has information on being a table topics master. So once these emails go out, it has a link to that document, so that person, so if they're new, then they can read those resources from that email and get more information on how to do the role from that email. So there's different things like that you can do with an EasySpeak that this makes things a little bit easier. And another thing that would be important is, we can just touch on just a little bit more time. So going into the club control plan, I oftentimes mix these up with Club Central sometimes, but this is the club control panel down below. And only certain people can have access to this. You can be the IT person, or you can specify actually who has the ability to access this control panel. It's also important to have an idea of what you're doing, but it's all pretty straightforward. You just, basically this is all the back end stuff of your EasySpeak page. So you can modify stuff, you can change stuff, but you want to be clear that you're not doing something that you're going to regret, so to speak. So you just want to make sure that before you hit submit, that you know what you are submitting when you're going through here. But this is where you'll go through and you'll be able to, here you see the location edit. This is how you can add a various different locations. So it's pretty simple. You click on the create a new location and you just put in the information. And then once that's submitted, then you'll have that location, or once it's saved, then you'll have that new location to choose from when you're setting up your agendas. You would also see the members page here. So if you're starting your club out for the first time, you might want to just upload a lot of members all at once. So all the club members that are in your club, you might just want to upload them all. in one swoop. And this is how you would do that. So you would just click here for all the full instructions. And then there's a bit of instructions, but down here, it says if you have many users to create the import from speech faculty may be of interest. So you can click that. And then this will take you to this sample spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet's very simple because all you really do is you look at their sample, you look at the information, you look at how they have it laid out, and you just do the exact same thing for all of your club members. And then you'll save it as I believe it's a CVC file.
CSV.
And what it'll say
CSV,
yeah, CSV. I always get those backwards sometimes.
Comma separated values.
Yeah, that's I always look for the word that says comma. That's basically my cue. Okay, that's the right one because it says comma in it. Yeah, but yeah, you'll save it as that file, and then back on this other page, you'll be able to choose that file and upload all those members. And you do a similar thing with speeches, but they don't have that document on this page. You have to search for the document a little bit, but it's pretty simple to get there. I'm just going to go to this page here. And so on the help button, you can go to search. And oftentimes I'll just type in like upload speeches in the search box. And then on my keyboard, it's a Control F because I have a PC, but I believe it would be Control or Command F possibly on the Mac. And then I'll just type in like speeches or speech, and that should be specific enough. And then I can go down here and find importing members' speeches from a spreadsheet. And this will be a similar Excel sheet. And then this is how you can upload any past progress that your members have achieved. And this is the same concept. You have their username. There's the book number, which there is a lookup table here. And all you do is just look up the number, and the number just has to match the book name.
Yeah, Marvin, you're not sharing the desktop. I don't see the book number if you opened Excel.
Bad. Yeah, I should just probably just share my whole screen. It's probably be easier. I do that all the time. I just assume that it's sharing. I appreciate that though. There we go. Well, actually, I'm actually going to share my screen because we're going to very quickly go back to Easy Speak. So yeah, so here's the workbook numbers on the left-hand side, and then you have the workbook names, and it's all international. So you're going to see some other languages on here sometimes too, but you'll just match the workbook number with the project or with the manual or the path.
Are those workbook numbers unique to the workbook name, or are they unique to the language and name?
Yes.
Yes to which question, Laurie?
They're unique to the language and the workbook.
So you can only get innovative planning on row 18, workbook 289 in Deutsch?
So
you can't get it in English?
So that innovative planning will have a different number for English.
Yeah, right up above. So what you can do, Marvin, is click on row number 1 and turn on filtering, and then just filter the English language, which would limit all of those other languages.
Yeah, probably. And you'll typically know that it's because usually what happens is once you put in the number, usually it will show up. Let's see. Oops. Oh, I have to enable the editing apparently. There we go. So once I put that in there, it should. Yeah, see how it pops up there? That's how way you'll be able to confirm.
Sure, yeah, if you know the number. Okay. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that feature existed.
And it's all, and they have all the formulas and everything all set up, so it'll.
They even give you instructions down there on one of those tabs. It looks like, yeah.
Yeah. There's
okay.
there's the instructions for that. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. I've uploaded things several times using this, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And
So if a club was converting from free toast host, sorry, I'm doing the CVS,
yeah,
which is a pharmacy, could they use this feature to migrate to EasySpeak?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does FreeToast have an export, or does FreeToast even track that granularity of information though to export for? That's what I'm wondering.
You can export from Free Toast Host with all the speeches for every member.
Okay.
And that's how I populated my club's EasySpeak, is I went to Free Toast Host, export for Stuart, import to EasySpeak. Yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, you can export. I can't remember if I exported multiple members at a time or not.
Just it's an idea for another workshop for clubs who might be considering going from one to the other.
Yeah.
If there's somebody who was good at that, that would be.
Which we are running close to 7:20 here. I'm about to drop the yellow here. Do you think we could look at the set up meeting roles and maybe club officers, some of those other things that might be needed as club officers?
Okay, yeah, and here's the tab for club officers, and this is how you can set all of the different permissions, and this is something you can just explore through the clubs, because you can. There's one here it's who has access to the control panel. So he has access to control panel.
Mm-hmm.
So you can set all the officers that have access to it, or you can set it so that only specific people can. So that would be how you can control all of that. And here is the club setup button. So these are some other settings that you can explore, but we don't really have time that we go into all those details. But this is, and then you have meeting roles. So sometimes your club has other roles that aren't added, and this is where you'll be able to go in to add another meeting role that you would need. And those are some of the basics in the control panel. And I'll go back to the home page. And what was the one thing that you said, James, that was important?
I had one question about who has the permission to set up an agenda and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's found in the control panel.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can change that at any time, and I can't remember how we have it set up and who has access to it. I can't remember, but
okay.
And there's a lot of resources under the help button. You can go to the help options, and you can go to EasySpeak Video, and they actually have specific videos on all the officer positions. So here you can see as a club member, like requesting a speech, reviewing speech. I think these videos should populate. I think it's still loading, but they'll load at some point. And there's those various different videos, signing up for meetings, change your EasySpeak profile. You have videos specific to the club president using EasySpeak. There's the VPE and the VP of membership, public relations, there's IT support, and so on. And these resources are very useful as well when it comes to learning EasySpeak. So this walks through all the basics. You get a good visual of how everything works. And that's kind of like the rundown of using EasySpeak. I can go on for another 2 hours probably. And
is there a place where there's like a like if you're going through and you don't recognize like what an icon is, like versus like the light green versus the dark green checks in the charts, where do you go to see what all those mean? Are those all documented?
Yeah. The only thing that happens when you were to, let's see if we go to that meeting. I'll just go here, the meeting list, easier. So I'll go back to that other meeting that we just created and where I sign up for that one role. So, or maybe I didn't save it. So I'll just do it again. And so once I click this check mark, all that happens is it's just confirmed, and so it's just a check mark, and it just sticks to that agenda, essentially.
But what about like when you're looking at your transcript of all of your projects, like for pathways or whatever, and it's showing you all those little checks, whether it's in progress or scheduled or not started or completed, and those kinds of icons on that grid that you showed us at the beginning.
Yeah.
Is there like a place where if we forget what one of the symbols means, where do you go to find like the master list of what all the icons mean for that kind of stuff?
Oh, or oftentimes what I would do, so you're talking like these icons here?
Those, or any of the icons pretty much across the site. Is there like, what does the documentation look like for all of it?
I don't think I've seen documentation like that, but what I oftentimes do is I just hover my cursor over it, and if you, in about a second, it just highlights what it is. Okay. And that's how I remember it, because sometimes I forget what it is, and sometimes I just click it and it's the wrong one. I just go back, click the right one, so yeah, so it's, and then eventually you'll memorize what they are. And say, for example, I had this speech scheduled, so I have like the little clock that would be on the communication chart, and then once that's completed, then that green check mark automatically gets populated on that chart, so it's all connected.
Nice.
Yeah, so every agenda, it just automatically connects to that chart, so you really don't do anything at all to the actual chart. It just populates itself. It's all geared towards the agenda once it's closed down, because once you close the agenda, then that's basically where it takes the information and puts it on. But if the agenda is open, then it's still going to have a little circle clock thing next to the speeches.
Gotcha.
It's unfortunate that we're just about out of time, though, because I would like to talk about a little bit more about Easy Speak. Where it gets really fun when you start talking about how to modify the page and everything. That's the fun stuff. Because what you could do if you wanted to, you can actually copy like this stuff, and if you were to do that, and you can actually paste it onto your own page, and it'll have those buttons.
Is this basically HTML insert then?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's one thing you can do. And then all you would do is just change the links to them.
Hey,
You are muted.
Sorry, I'm just stopping in to say wrap it up.
Okay.
Stop recording, wrap it up, come back to the main room.
Perfect. And are there any final questions that anybody has?
We can go. I think they're going to have a question and answer session unified in the main room.
Okay.
So we can cover those later.
Perfect. And yeah, so the main things that's done on Easy Speak is you would, and that's why I have these buttons here, because these buttons are basically like the most common things that you will do. And well, this wasn't common before, but it is now. but you'll have the speech progress. So I have this link there, so it takes you directly to the speech progress.
Nice.
And then here's signing up for the meeting roles, which I don't think we've seen this page yet. But this is another cool place where you can go and you can confirm roles. It has the upcoming meetings here, and then you can go on and you can confirm which one that you want to fulfill by just clicking the yes button. And so that's something that you can do to just make it easier for your members. And here's request a speech, and now we're going to be sent back. And then I have member downloads, user list. I put some training videos, pathways, upcoming meetings. Speech evaluations is pretty nice, because then you just have like a list of all of them. And the same thing here is, if you wanted to, you could just copy all this too, if you wanted to, and you can paste it into a new page. And then all it does is link to a Google Drive that I have, and then you can download all of the speech evaluations, which, yep. And then in a perfect world, everyone will be able to go on here beforehand, and they'll be able to find the speech evaluation, have it prepared at the meeting. And this is a way just to make it a little bit easier to find it.
Nice.
And I guess we'll be sent back in about 10 seconds.
For those stragglers to get back into the main room here.
It looks like, Marvin, you are still recording too.
Oh, I am? Okay.
So it's gonna be
I was wondering what happened with that.
I just want to say goodbye. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure seeing everybody, and I wish you well.
Lisette, thank you very, very much.
Lisette.
I said that. That's what I said.
Yes, I was just saying goodbye to Lisette.
Narzette, thank you very much for coming and helping us out.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Have a great night, you guys.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Awesome. All right. Well, with Lisette getting out of here, let us roll right into the next part of our night. But first off, thank you, Marvin, for doing what you did in the Easy Speak. It sounds like people were asking questions, and it sounds like you are quite the expert in that, developing your own site there under Easy Speak.
I have too much time on my hands sometimes.
Right, exactly. So I imagine that from both rooms, we might have more questions, and I encourage you to either write those down or keep them top of mind, because when Laurie gets done with her portion of her presentation on Club Central, we're going to open it up to everyone to ask questions about anything on the subjects that we discussed here tonight. Our next speaker is going to be speaking on the tool that everyone will stay in this room for, and that is Club Central. Our speaker tonight is Laurie, and Laurie Zabrowski has performed the VPE, or Vice President Education, role multiple times for her Toastmasters clubs. As VPE, she spent a bit of time on Club Central reviewing the club roster, updating meeting location information, and submitting members' education awards. Laurie will share some of the features of Club Central with us tonight. Please give Laurie a warm sound advice welcome. Laurie.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, how many of you have just been elected as a club officer this year? Show of hands. All right, are you new to this role? Keep your hand up. All right, so we have some new people to Club Central. Congratulations on your election. There are so many things to learn and do. We just experienced Free Toast or Easy Speak, depending on which way your club goes. But wait, there's so much more in Club Central. And Kyle, can I share my screen now?
You should be able to. You are a co-host.
All right. Now this is going to look a little different for some of you. I'm an officer in 3 clubs at the current moment, so I get to pick which club I need to manage. Many of you are just going to go directly to the next screen. Okay, and so in the next screen is Club Central. One of the things that showed up over the time since I was VPE the first time is this click here for Club Central tutorials. I'm not one to click into things and watch videos, but I happened to do that the other day. It's actually quite useful. The main things to know if you're a brand new officer is, has Club Central been updated with my new club officer list? And so that's down in club administration. So club officer assignment might be the first place you go, or it should be the first place the secretary goes right after the elections. So as a new officer, if you aren't the secretary or just plain as a new officer, you might want to check with your past year's club secretary and say, have you updated our club officer assignments? If that does not get updated by the 1st of July, you're going to be locked out of Club Central. Your club will have to spend time, somebody in the club will have to spend time talking to Toastmasters International to get this updated. Okay, so make sure that your secretary has updated this information. I'm looking at my other club, Talk on the Water, and it's showing the future club list, right? So this is the officers starting July 1. There's also the tab that shows who's the current ones. Okay, so you can always check this out. I didn't change anything, so it's safe to save it. Other things that you need to know. I'm going back to the main Club Central. So we've taken care of the club officer assignment. How many of you are now meeting on Zoom instead of a physical location? There's a way to show that in your club demographics. So if we're doing an online, you can say online attendance accepted, yes, and you have an option to put in the Zoom meeting. If you have a recurring meeting link, you can put that in there. What if you move physically? Well, you need to update that information as well. So in club administration, there's club contact and meeting information. So in some clubs, the president each year is designated as the club contact. And what that does is through Toastmasters International, if somebody goes to Toastmasters International and says, I want to find a club that I want to visit in my 5-mile radius of where I'm at. Well, it'll pull up those clubs that are there, and it will provide you the information, and then there's a little link that says contact club. Well, that club contact and meeting information is what shows up on Toastmasters International when you click on the Find a Club. So you want to make sure that the email and the phone number in club contact and meeting information is a current member, if not a current officer of your club. So this might be something that the president checks before the 1st of July. Make sure that who's going to be called or emailed is somebody who's currently in the club and knows a little bit about the club and can give a visitor or a potential guest a little heads up of what's going on. The meeting location is also important. Sound Advice has moved locations a few times in the 3 years of my membership. And it's like, okay, so we were at the Veterans Club on Tyler and 56 for a bit. Then we moved downtown to Tacoma Municipal Building. So each time we moved, we needed to update this address so that people could find us. We don't want them going to a place that we were at 2 years ago. That's a little discouraging to a guest. The nice thing about this is you can go back to the previous screen easily with these links at the top. Okay, as an officer, now any officer in the club has all of these permissions. It's the one place that's different than Pathways. So a sergeant at arms can go in here and submit an education award for another member. The president can go in here and add a new member, provided they have the application information. Let me go back. So these tiles are available to any officer in the club. One of the first places I've gone when I've become a new officer in a club is to go to the club roster. In the club roster, I think it's thinking, there we go. It will list everybody who's in the club. It will also show who's Pathways enrolled. It will provide their contact email and phone number. And so then you can go through and say, okay, how long are they paid? Are they paid through the end of this year or paid through the next dues period? All that information shows up pretty quickly in this link. The other thing, and this is one that maybe you guys can help me, this says total paid members in the club is 26. But when I go to the DCP progress for this club, we're not showing 26 members. And I'm just a little confused about that. An important tool is to export to Excel or CSV. It really is a CSV export, okay? And I'm not going to take the time to generate that right now, but I found it useful to go ahead and export to Excel because I could add another column and I could put in, because it gives me the name, the contact information. Yes, their Pathways enrolled. It doesn't necessarily give me all the details about their Pathways enrollment. You know, what path are they on? What level are they on? So I could go in and I can add some notes as VPE and say, oh yeah, Nick wants to accomplish level 5 in his path. So as VPE at the beginning of the year, I said, okay, is Nick working on that? How can I help him, and how can I track that he's getting to that goal he's shared with me? And so to me, that Excel export is very useful. You can also just print it. If you need a piece of paper to scratch notes on, that's an easy way to do this as well. Okay, so new officers. The other thing is for the club president, secretary, and VPE in Pathways, those 3 officers have the permission in Pathways to approve levels. However, they're not done yet. The club doesn't get the education award until it is submitted through the Submit Education Awards link here. And in this case, it will list everybody who's a paid up member in the club. You select, and it says what education program, and it gives all the manuals, and if they're in a path, in which case this isn't, then it will list that path and that level. And
the path is leadership development. It's the top one.
Is it?
Yeah, it always sticks online in front.
Okay, so then we could go through and fill out the award. I'm not going to click into here because I don't want to accidentally submit an award which she hasn't completed yet. But you have to do this for your club to get your educational award achievement, and it finishes the members' educational award achievement. That's when you get the, in my case, I'm motivational strategies level 2 done. That actually gives me the MS2 completion award. So these are pretty important to go to. Add members, of course, is self-explanatory. Submit payment. I've used this not as the vice president of, or not as a treasurer, but if I had somebody in my club and they wanted to pay their dues to international, then I logged in here and I allowed them to type in their credit card information and hit the submit button. So then it was taken care of and we didn't have to wait for days to try to get a hold of the club treasurer. I could still handle that process and the members' dues got paid. Let's see.
Laurie, how much more time did you want? It occurred to me I didn't really know how long your speech was.
I was going to go for what Nick had on the agenda, which is approximately 20 minutes.
Okay, so you don't need to worry about that green. I
Not
will
yet.
keep the yellow up for a while.
Yeah, so I've covered the new officer list, education award, membership. So in membership, submit payments, submit education awards. We've talked about club officer assignment, club, I didn't mean to click. Club financials. This may be a place that the treasurer would want to go to make sure that all the submissions for members' dues are properly recorded. Distinguished performance reports goes back to the distinguished club pages, right? The distinguished club progress. And so you go right to here and you can see, okay, where is the club at? Oh, well, we've got, this is where the discrepancy. The club roster says I have 26, but my membership to date says 18. And I'm kind of confused by that because it's, how do we know if we really need to get to 20 or do we have that? Because it says 26 in the other place.
I think it's the paid members. That's what I think. If you go down the list, you can see what they're paid up to on the roster chart. And
Right.
there might be 18 people that are paid all the way up through September. And then the others probably aren't. That would be my assumption.
That might be correct, Marvin. I think I looked at that a couple weeks ago and it promptly flew out of my head.
I believe Marvin is correct. You may have 26 people on your roster, but they're not all paid.
Right. And so that's one of the things to watch for is make sure that you have people have your members paid up through the current dues period. If they aren't, then you might want to get on the phone or however it is to contact them and say, hey, do you want to keep going? We'd really like you to keep going. We want to help you reach your goals. So take advantage of that roster. And this is just the checklist of how many goals you've achieved in the Distinguished Club process. Let's see, let's go back. And you get back through the same process. Okay, the other thing that's kind of nice is club achievements. What has the club accomplished so far in their history? So for this club, it shows, okay, we've never earned the Smedley Award. So these are the membership building, excuse me, the membership building goals for projects from Toastmasters. Here's your Distinguished Club program, and it says how often and what years you achieve the different Distinguished Club achievements. And so this is something nice to review every once in a while if you want to say, okay, this year, okay, 2018, 2019, we got to select. We've been at least distinguished for several years. What do we want to do next year? And how are we going to get there? And combine that in conjunction with the individual members' goals. Because remember, our club goals are only going to be achieved by our members achieving their goals. When it comes to contest time, the Eligibility Assistant tool will help you to make sure that you're passing on a club contest winner to the next level and they're eligible for it. Again, we did the club contact and meeting information. If you have any special addendums to the Toastmasters club options, this would be the place that you would go to update those. And then you can print administrative reports, which also, select a report. It's okay, who are all your charter members? Maybe you want to have a charter anniversary celebration. So like Talk on the Water, our anniversary is January 31. So maybe for January 31 or the meeting close to that date, we want to have a charter ceremony or a charter anniversary special meeting. So then we would find out who were all the charter members and maybe invite them back to present on why they joined the club at that time or whatever you want to do. So there's ways to look those up. And you can look up your club's past and present education awards. So just different tools that you can pull the information that Toastmasters is tracking on all of us in our clubs and create a celebration report. I want to invite all the past presidents to come share what they got out of being the club president in the past. I don't really have much more else to talk about.
That's okay, Laurie. I think this is good. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I think if you guys have any questions, I'll leave the webpage accessible and I can bring it up and help us find it if that is what people want to see.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for listening.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Laurie. We greatly appreciate that thorough walkthrough of Club Central. Before we move into the question and answer portion of the meeting tonight, just a recap of what we discussed. Whether you use FreeToast, whether you use Easy Speak, your club usually, except for one individual who is a base, whose club is at a base, I guess, does not use these two sites or uses one of these sites, you're going to run across Easy Speak or FreeToast, one of them anyways. And you're definitely going to run across Club Central as your past secretary, or maybe you as the outgoing secretary, put in your information, your new officer information. We heard from Lizette West. thank you so much for speaking on Free Toast Toast. We heard from Marvin Wiley on Easy Speak, and we just heard Laurie Zabrowski with her beautiful screen sharing capabilities on Club Central. So thank you so much to those three for providing what they did on each of those subjects. I'd like to open it up to the question and answer session. And to begin it, oh, Judy, yes? Judy, sorry, you're muted at the time. Or you're muted.
I had a question, but if you wanted to begin it, that's okay.
Begin what? Sorry.
You said to begin it. Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Question?
Well, mine isn't a question. It's a quote. So we can go right to Judy. And this comes from Confucius. And he says, the individual who asks a question is a fool for the minute. The individual who does not ask is a fool for life. And so with that, please, questions. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Nick. I really like that quote. I often have to say it to myself when I think I'm asking a really basic question. Laurie, did you say it was under club demographics that you can put that the club is now meeting online?
Yes, I believe it is. I can check that.
That's what I thought you said. I just wanted to verify. Thank you.
If anyone has any other questions, you could let us know in a number of ways. One, unmute yourself and just go ahead. Raise your hand if you're sharing your screen, or raise your hand with the button down there. If we don't have any questions, I have some prepared, so we could roll with those too.
I have a question, but Lisette is not here to answer it. I'm going to ask the people who are in her meeting, did she show you the easiest way, if you're a speaker and you want to select your path and exercise on an agenda, did she show you the easiest way to do that?
Kyle, she focused on the roles and responsibilities of the officer, not as the individual members.
Okay.
So
Nick,
to answer your question, no.
Nick, can I take a minute to show people the easiest way to select your... Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And I think that's the correct one. This is the SQUIM Toastmasters website, which is Free Toast Toast. If I go into an agenda, and I'm going to go to July because we have some, I think we have some speakers available. July 7th. So let's say I want to be speaker 1, and I'm logged in as me. So I'll just sign up. Okay, there's me. Now, as VP, I'm the current VP in my club. I will tell you one of the most, it's not frustrating. One of the single error I see occurring over and over and over and over again is that people grab the right exercise from the wrong path. And it gets very confusing, especially if they're doing an icebreaker. But you almost always see they're doing an icebreaker. Oh, well, they almost always get dynamic leadership, even though they're not doing dynamic leadership. Here's what you do. You click on this thing to grab your path or your project. The first thing you click on is collapse all. Now you can see all the paths. Oh, look, there's the legacy stuff. Now we don't have to worry about that after July 1. But all the paths are up here. So now I can go down and pick the path. Well, I'm working on engaging humor. So I'm going to pick that path. And now I scroll down and I can grab the project I'm working on. Oh, I'm going to work on connect with your audience. But it all starts out with collapse all. And will help you grab the correct item. And I'm not going to click save because I'm not actually speaking that night. And if I don't click save, any changes I make here will not be saved. Back to you, Nick.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle, for that. I saw some shaking heads, or excuse me, nodding heads while you're doing that. So I know for me, I was not aware of that. Probably did that myself. Okay. Do we have any other questions at this time? Yes, James.
So after I've used Free Toast Toast, started using it in my club after a impromptu overheard tutorial from Kyle in the men's room at one of the training conferences. I'm like, huh, they've upgraded their feature set. I'm curious now. I'll try this. And so I started trying it, and I'm loving it. I hate the interface, but that's because I'm picky and a professional user interface developer, so whatever. And first time I've ever seen an Easy Speak interface was when I went with Marvin, and I hate its interface too, but it has a lot of really cool features too. So, I mean, all right. I hate everything equally as far as that goes. But I saw some features that were on Easy Speak that I have not seen in FreeToast. Maybe because I have not seen them before. I don't know where they're at. Like the outstanding Toastmaster point system thing that's built in there. It's kind of cool. And a few ways that you can sign up for things that seem very member-oriented for having members be able to track lots more stuff. And FreeToast seems very officer-oriented for tracking follow-up and things like that. That was just kind of my initial impression. But for those who have used both, what features are in one but not the other? That's my main question.
Joanna, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So one of the features that is in Easy Speak that is not in FreeToast Host is if you attend meetings from other clubs. So for instance, if you attend meetings, Key Peninsula, professionally, there's somebody else who's on it. It tracks every single meeting from every single club that you attend if you have your login. And I do like that because it's a way to go back.
That is cool.
For FreeHost Toast, I have 4 different clubs that use FreeHost Toast, and it doesn't track those. I have to track those separately. So that is the biggest change and tracking mechanism that I think is amazing on Easy Speak.
It's notable. Anything that FreeToast Toast has that Easy Speaks does not?
One of the, getting back to officer orientation, I believe that Easy Speak does not do this, but FreeToast Toast does. The treasurer can generate dues invoices and have them emailed out to all the members, and can then track people paying their dues in the system.
Can you track follow-up with members in different lists in Easy Speak? Okay. I know you can in FreeToast Toast. It has like a little, you can track follow-up, and I followed up in this manner, and he needs this other kind of follow-up for prospective members or for people who, you know, are former members and you want to follow up with them. You can check to let your fellow officers know that I've already bugged this person, don't bug them again till later. Or I bugged him this way, you can bug him some other way. And is there anything like that in Easy Speak?
Oh, no, and that's another thing that I like about FreeToast Host as well, is that what Kyle said about the treasurer tools. And one thing I did is I actually just copied that template, and being that we mainly use Easy Speak, I just used the text that I took from FreeToast Host and I just put it into a Google document, and then I'll just like copy that and I'll paste it into an email or whatnot from there, and I'll edit it as we go. And another thing I really like about FreeToast Host is you can edit the emails so that you can actually direct each person's name. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it's like bracket, first name, bracket, and then it'll automatically populate the name of the person. And you can't do that in Easy Speak and emails. You just basically address everybody. So I think that's pretty cool because you can personalize like anywhere in the email. You just put that in there and it puts their name. I think that's cool.
So the mailing system is more robust for FreeToast Toast. Does Easy Speak have the feature for having the resend stuff? So if I send an email to members at my club, FreeToast Toast can resend that out to all the people in the members list or the officers list or the prospects list. And they respond back to it, it'll resend it out to everybody else. And I use that all the time. Is that in Easy Speak at all?
I'm not sure, really. Yeah. I don't know.
Pros and cons.
Look for it. I just know you can send out mass emails, and I think that's about all you can do.
Do either of them have an API?
API, you might have to spell that out.
That's beyond us.
Okay.
Application programmer interface, and you'd have to go to the FreeToast Toast website and find out. And if you do, they'll probably suck you into being one of their volunteer developers.
I saw a rant on Reddit. Somebody asked them, and they're like, "Why would anybody want that?" And the person's going, "Bang, bang, everybody wants that." So I haven't heard if Easy Speaks has one or not, but last I heard, FreeToast Toast does not and aren't interested in making one, which is really a bummer.
Well, remember, both of these tools are developed by unpaid Toastmaster enthusiastic volunteers.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
neither tool has any affiliation with Toastmasters International.
Which means we can make a third. Sorry.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, James, for the question, which led to some follow-up questions. Absolutely fantastic. Talk about feeling like a fool with the API and other acronym drops there.
Nerdmaster, sorry.
Right. No, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Learning every day. Okay. We do have time if there is one more question before we roll into our evaluation portion of the meeting. Do we have one more question, perhaps maybe a comment or perhaps maybe a compliment for one of our presenters? Yes, Joanna.
So I'm an evaluator for Lisette, so I'm going to compliment her quite a bit on that. But I do have a question for follow-up questions that we've already identified. Are we going to be able to, if we don't get our questions answered or we think about something in the future, because sometimes you have to think before you can ask your question, is there something that we're going to have for our page that will allow people to ask questions so that we can get back with them and maybe forward it to the Nerdmasters?
I think that is a great question, and officers, I might suggest that we figure out how we can keep that channel open. So for those individuals who do wish after the meeting, if a middle of the night question pops up about what they heard about in the Toastmasters meeting tonight, they can get that answered. So I guess what I would say is, Debbie and other officers on the call, let's make note of that and think about how we can distribute that to our list of attendees tonight so we can follow up with them. Is that going to be okay for the moment there, Joanna?
And she was also noting that as a questions to forward on for investigation to the Nerdmasters as well. So I noted that down as a Nerdmasters action item as well.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks so much, James. Okay. Well, for those of us who do have questions, and with what Joanna just brought up, we will answer them even if you don't have questions or comments right now. But again, later today, this week, this year, want to get answered, we will provide you some information or feedback loop so you know how to do that. The next part of the meeting is, well, we're probably all familiar with it, and that is we too here at Sound Advice have the evaluation portion of the meeting. When I'm the general evaluator, I usually say that the evaluation portion is the most important part of the meeting, and so that makes me the most important Toastmaster at the meeting. But tonight and every Sound Advice meeting, given who speaks and the subjects that they present on, it is very, very arguable what portion of the meeting is the most valuable. Well, tonight, leading us through our evaluation portion of the meeting is our own Sherry Kenyon. Please help me welcome our general evaluator for the night, Sherry Kenyon.
Well, we've had a unique meeting here tonight, and I think that it's going to be a unique set of evaluations that we have. Our first evaluation is going to be from Joanna, who evaluated Lizette's section. I don't know, what do you call it? Program. She's not here, but I'm sure that you, Joanna, can give us some points that we'll all remember about her particular speech and her program. So, Joanna.
Thank you, Sherry. For my timer, if you could just give me a second, I just want to explain that I'm going to record myself for Lisette and then send this to her. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. Don't start timing me just yet. As soon as I hit record, then if you would, please. And you'll see the red button at the very top saying record. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests that have come to our Sound Advice meeting. We had a guest Toastmaster, Lisette West, who is a powerhouse when it comes to free host toast. She has previously had a recording session of her free toast toast, webinar, and tonight she gave us something that was even more extended from what it gave. Some of the things that Lisette excelled at was understanding her material. She had the opportunity to incorporate questions as each section was processing. She asked questions to follow up, and that allowed to wrap up that section before we moved on to the next session and the next role for the officers. She managed to the disruptions well. We had 2 timers that there was some confusion with. She had her toddler in the background. She was very smooth in those transitions and making sure that there wasn't a lot of disruption with that. And she managed those well, which is kind of difficult for some of us. We get so worried about what's going on in the background that we can't come back to what we did, and she managed that well. She also excelled at her poise and presentation. For this, her personality came through, and it was more of a teacher and less, it was more of a mentor and less of a coach. And so it was very engaging, and we really appreciated that. Some of the areas that I think would enhance this for her is this is a very large topic. And because it's such a large topic, you want to make sure, whether we're presenters or recipients of information, is that it's streamlined. So I would recommend that she start with site admin responsibilities first, and then move into members only functionality for those roles that officers have. Again, this is a huge presentation. She was able to streamline quite a bit, but I also think that the question and answer period take up some of her time that she wouldn't normally have added into that. So the other thing that I think that would enhance it would be to have a live document. So in essence, the lifespan of a document for member uploads, how to create that, where it's found, how it's posted, and then how it's deleted, and then just show real time as that document happens. It would be smoother if she had one select process or product to do that with, and then that way it makes it easier to follow. Some of the things that she might want to challenge herself with is, if you have, and we all need to challenge ourselves with this, is if we have something that we're not familiar with, or a question is brought to us, it's okay to say, let me get back to you. We have a certain amount of time. We need to manage that time well, and then move on to the next thing and come back to it and set up a time to develop that. One of the examples is developing the agenda template. It did take more time, and we weren't able to get to that. So that would be the thing. The last thing that I would challenge her with is her handouts all had the number 2 on it. And she referred to page numbers, page number 3, page number 5, but they weren't congruent with what was actually on the handout. And those are just minor things that some of us need. The thing that was phenomenal about her handout was the fact that she actually had something that had screenshots. So for those of us that learn by seeing, it helps us transition, and it also reminds us of the material that she presented. So those are the things that I think that she excelled at. Again, she managed her time well, she managed disruptions well, but there does need to be a streamline for the information that we're asking to be covered. The handout is a phenomenal tool, just some minor tweaks with the administrative portion, and I think that that would be an excellent wrap up. It's always a pleasure to have a guest Toastmaster come to our meeting, and especially somebody of Lisette's caliber, because she has given this before, and I was looking forward to having almost the same material, but she surprised me with giving us even more and making it personalized for us with asking questions during each session. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. Our second evaluator is going to be evaluating Marvin's presentation on Easy Speak, and that is going to be James. Am I correct, James?
Indeed.
Yes, good. Okay.
Thank you, Sherry. It is my pleasure and honor to evaluate one of my fellow nerd masters tonight on his presentation of a very technical, information-dense subject, and that is incredibly challenging. I've had to do this professionally several times, and trying to get something, particularly when there's a lot of buttons and a lot of icons and a lot of fields, and it's all across the screen, and you're trying to explain to somebody how to make it work when they haven't seen it before, is daunting. It is an incredibly difficult task. And you showed comfort with it. You were poised, you were at your ease, you walked through it, you were showing us step by step a bunch of the different things and walking us through stuff. And you were open to conversation and questions, and you walked us through it really well. So excellent job. One thing I would say from a strategic perspective is to think of the level of detail that you share, though. If you look at it as you have very high level perspective of here's the ultimate purpose of Easy Speak, and then for each individual member or officer role, here's the kinds of features they have available to them. And then there's a particular path of developing, creating an agenda, or updating an officer role, or updating an email as more granular below that. And then you have the super fine detail of creating an agenda and putting in information or signing up for a role. And working through those in a structured way can really help people to absorb lots of information more efficiently and more comprehensively. And my first impression was that you started at the micro level. Right at the gate, you started talking about setting up a club and all the details involved in that. And then when you couldn't show us what you said, oh, that's easy, and you went on and kept going. And then you jumped to the high level and kind of skimmed it, and then you jumped back down to the micro level. There was a lot in there without as much in the middle. And I think having more of that would have contextualized it for us to be able to figure things out a bit better. And along those lines, show us that it's easy by walking through it real quick, explaining the context to it without saying so many times that this is really easy and simple. Because often it seems counterintuitive, but oftentimes saying something is simple or saying something is easy actually makes people more terrified of it. I'm not sure why. The psychology sometimes works that way. Like, I don't understand it immediately, and he said it's simple, so I must be stupid. That's sometimes the interaction that some people will get. So avoiding that particular phrase can sometimes help. And having a spreadsheet or a handout with screenshots of stuff that you couldn't quite share would have also been really helpful, possibly. Or have something pre-prepared to walk through to show what you're doing instead of trying to figure out as you went could be helpful. But overall, fantastic job. I learned a lot there. I was able to see the huge breadth of options that were there and kind of get an idea of how I would use it in a real world application. And it almost sold me on Easy Speak. Almost. Not sure I'm switching yet, but well done. Really appreciate it, Marvin. Good job.
Thank you very much, James. We had a third speaker, and that was Laurie Zabrowski telling us about Club Central, and her evaluator is Debbie Baker. So Debbie, would you step up? There you are.
Yes. So thank you. And Laurie, great job tonight. Thank you so much for taking on this role. One thing that I want to preface this with is that I realized that you didn't have a lot of time to create additional content and flow to make it where you really could ponder this. And so some of my feedback would have been that perhaps you would consider that, but I really tried to focus more on what she and I talked about together a little bit on the chat, which is she's giving another presentation, so giving her some more feedback toward an upcoming presentation, especially for the fact that it's going to be online. So I want to just kind of state that to all. So one of the things that I really liked, Laurie, was that you prepped very well. You had your screen up and ready. You were already logged on to Toastmasters International, and once you brought us in, you got us familiar right away. You said, now this is a little different because I belong to more than one club. So you just kind of walked us through. Everybody feels comfortable as you're going through that. And then you covered the quick details about the tiles. One thing that I really liked was that you said, all of these tiles, they're available to everybody. So I knew that the screen as it presented was going to be the same for all of my team. That's really helpful. I don't know that a lot of people know how dynamic it becomes the further you go into the district. And they didn't need to know, but there is, if you've never done it, it leads to some confusion. And so I really like that you were that comfortable and that you'd kind of done that familiar stuff. The areas that I really want to encourage you to consider on for improvement is, like in your opening, you said words that imply encouragement and excited about being there, but your body energy and your voice energy didn't match it. And so I want to encourage you to bring a higher level of emotional output. You also had a point within this where you had a strong emphasis, and it was very important on that emphasis, because you said, if you do not get your officer list in before July 1, you lose access to Club Central. Critical piece, we all know it, and that kind of thing. Slow it down, really add that emphasis to it, and then that gets somebody paying attention with it. Another thing that I thought would be helpful on this is to consider presenting it in such a way that when you finish your talk, those most important things that somebody needs to walk away with, put those at that area on something like this. There's a lot of information, but at least that is what's left top of mind. What I loved was that you added comments of your own lessons learned. You had things in there like, when you export, I suggest that you use Excel. You mentioned the CSV, but then you said Excel and then why. You did that a couple of times with the reports and the roster, and so I really like that additional emphasis of where you found value. Thank you so much, and I will hand it back to our general evaluator.
Thank you very much. Okay, I am going to, before I call on the timer, I'm going to do a very quick general evaluation. We're running a little bit late on time here, so I will make this quick. But I just want, for our guests, I want you to realize that this is a unique club and we do things differently than normal clubs. Nick did a marvelous job in pulling this all together. Being the Toastmaster was not just being a regular Toastmaster. He got all of the speakers, he devised this whole thing, and if you had seen the agenda that he put out, it was a beautiful agenda that he actually built for this particular meeting. So I want to thank him for that. And also his persistence in getting people on and getting people on board really makes a difference. So anyway, great job by everyone. And I am going to now ask for our timers report. Judy.
Thank you, Sherry. I was in Lizette's session belatedly because I had lost connection and needed to get back in. So there was a bit of confusion there, but thank you for backing me up, Debbie. I believe that both Lizette and Marvin used the 25 minutes. And Laurie, you used 19 minutes, 6 seconds. Joanna, your evaluation was 4 minutes, 28 seconds. James, yours was 3 minutes, 16 seconds, right within time. And Debbie, yours also was 3 minutes, 6 seconds. 16 seconds. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. And with that, I am going to turn control back over to our Toastmaster, Nick.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Madam General Evaluator. I must tell you that Sherry said some kind words about me putting this thing together, and it was by no means myself, the efforts of just myself, being able to put this thing together. I greatly relied on the giants that are in this club, our Zoom master, each of our speakers, our evaluators. Thank you so much for being here. But more importantly, thank you to the guests who showed up tonight, because we could all get together and chat about these different things, but there would be really no purpose if it weren't for individuals who really created the demand for the subject that was tonight, the Essential Club Officer Tools. As we wind up, the reason why we had tonight's meeting, well, I think of one quote that comes to mind, and that is from Stephen Covey. And habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. For those of you who are unfamiliar, maybe more familiar with this more contemporary individual, Russell Wilson said, separation is in the preparation. In Toastmasters, especially come July 1, it will be nearly, if not impossible, to have a successful, happy vibrant club if you do not know either Free Toast Toast, Easy Speak, and especially Club Central? How are you to know where you are in the Distinguished Club program? How are you to know who's on the agenda this week? Well, our presenters and speakers tonight and the questions asked of those individuals did a fantastic job in providing us some information. I know I learned as a somewhat veteran Toastmaster. I know that our greener Toastmasters, wow. I hope some notes were taken, or maybe go watch this recording. Again, as we conclude, and I turn it back over to our President, Debbie Baker, thank you so much for attending tonight, and I hope that you will consider joining a future Sound Advice meeting, as each of these are extremely, extremely valuable. Thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you, Nick, so much. It's been a fantastic year. This is the last meeting for this Toastmaster year and the last meeting as the president for this club. And I too would love to say thank you, not only to our members, but to all guests that continue to come and visit us month by month. I believe that we are about out of time, but I do want, or yes, we are 1 minute past time. I wanted to extend an offer to any of you that were guests today. If you wanted to give any feedback or insight that you had felt that we did well or didn't do well, anything you want to talk to us about? Amy.
Yes, I really enjoyed this meeting. I've been an officer before and I had a little bit of experience with Free Toast Toast, but I think the breakout session with Lisette was very good and I learned a lot. And also, I think Laurie's presentation on Club Central was very informative, because I've just touched on both of those platforms and haven't really dug into them, and I'm really a techno-Luddite anyway, so it was helpful to come to this meeting, and I feel like I learned something from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amy. Linda, I see that you've unmuted yourself.
What a great meeting. I learned so much. I'd never actually seen Easy Speak before, so I was super happy to learn more about it. And I'm pretty much convinced it'd be a better choice, but it might be a lot of work to migrate over. So, and thank you so much to Laurie for sharing everything in Club Central. It was an interesting meeting overall, and I applaud everyone here for their new officer roles.
Thank you so much. Merlin, did you have anything you wanted to speak on tonight?
Well, actually, I guess I just say I enjoyed it. I was here. I've already been trying to get our club up into running Free Toast Toast. We've been running. We're an old school club, so a lot of the stuff we're doing, we're like our secretary is still writing things down in a book.
Mm-hmm.
So using Free Toast Toast means that she's also got to go to website and actually enter it in. That's changing a little bit. We've got a new secretary this season, this next year. But I'm also wondering about not just for old. I'm kind of looking at this from an old school club kind of point of view, where there's a lot of documentation, a lot of pen and paper going on, and that's something that wonder which is going to be better, Easy Speak or Free Toast Toast. I'm familiar with Free Toast Toast. I'm going to have to, hopefully when the video comes out, I'll watch the Easy Speak presentation and see how well that works as well. Of course, I'm also a Toast or Nerd Master, so I can actually ask questions there too.
Yes.
But thanks for the meeting. This is really good.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us. One of those nice things is that we can take that to our clubs as well. Renee, I see that you're unmuted. Did you want to speak? Okay.
Thank you for including us. I felt it was very informative, inclusive, inspirational, and I'm most appreciative of the offer for help after the meeting. I would like to get a hold of Marvin, so having his email address would be wonderful. So thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you. So please spread the news about our club. We are always looking for new members, and of course, we're always interested in topics as well. And I see that our president has her hand raised, so I'm going to hand it to her, and I say, thank you. What a great year. Thanks, everyone. Go ahead, Judy.